My name is Tim Counts. This is Communication 110, Speech 2. Unfortunately, due to the ongoing pandemic, I will not have an audience today. Here are the note cards that I will be using. Chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE, has gained a lot of attention over the last 2 decades after the deaths of high-profile former NFL players like Junior Seau and Aaron Hernandez. In 2016, the Professional Pulse reported that after many years of denying the existence of a link between football and CTE, the NFL finally has admitted that that exists. So, now that we're all on the same page about that, let's talk about 3 things. What is CTE? How is it contracted? And what can we do to prevent it moving forward? Very briefly, according to Miller in 2020, CTE is the rapid degeneration of brain tissue. It also comes along with the buildup of tau, which is a protein on the brain that too much of it can start to interfere with proper brain function. So we'll take a look here at, this is a normal brain like you or I have. This is a brain that has experienced advanced CTE. I don't think it takes an advanced medical degree to see that if this is a healthy organ, this one's not in too good a shape. CTE was originally, was first diagnosed in the 1920s, often associated with boxing, and referred to as the punch-drunk syndrome. In the 2000s, mostly beginning kind of around the death of the time, the suicide of Junior Seau, it started being associated more with football. Unfortunately, the only way to determine whether or not a person has CTE is through a posthumous examination of the brain. So it is impossible to tell at this conclusively if a living person has CTE or not. Only after they have passed on and they can do an examination of the brain can that be conclusively determined. As a result, unfortunately, oftentimes CTE goes misdiagnosed as dementia, depression, or just signs of aging. So it's impossible to determine if a living person right now has CTE, and which is unfortunate and makes it difficult to treat. So that's what it is. Let's talk about how it is contracted. CTE is a traumatic brain injury, or a TBI. That's basically when your brain gets bounced around inside the skull and is smashed up against the inside of the skull walls, causing injury. Often this can be thought of as, big violent blows like boxing, being punched in the head or the face, or violent impacts in football. Cornerback and wide receiver make big head-to-head contact in the playing field. However, it's not just head-to-head contact, it's also body blows can have the same issue where the head is whipped back, and a whiplash type effect can also be traumatic. It's also been noted and determined through a lot of brain studies obviously of deceased individuals, that linemen are just as at risk of contracting CTE as high impact players. So it's not just the big violent blows that often lead to concussions, but repetitive low impact blows can also be very traumatic to the brain and lead to lifelong issues. According to Breslow in 2014, a third of all concussions in the NFL go left off of official injury reports. This is again ignoring a problem as it exists, and it's difficult to treat and stay on top of these things if we're not actively acknowledging their existence. 2 more things to note about contracting CTE. The first is according to Mies in 2018, that children 12 years and younger who engage in contact sports are likely to exhibit the symptoms of CTE and other issues up to 13 years sooner than those children who don't start playing contact sports until later on in life. The other thing is, once CTE is contracted, it does not reverse. So even after the player stops playing football, this disease will continue to develop. The brain continues to degenerate long after the impacts stop coming. So that's what CTE is, that's how it's contracted. Let's talk about ways that we can prevent this moving forward. The first is concussion protocols. As we noted, with a third of concussions going unreported, we need to put better and stronger protocols in place. They exist now, but they're not strong enough and they're not being actively enforced. So independent medical professionals making the decisions and determinations on whether or not somebody has contracted or sustained a concussion and when they can go back into the field of play. Snap counts on players. This is essentially limiting the number of times they're allowed to be on the field during football players, the number of times they're allowed to be on the field over the course of a game or a season, or the number of, just limiting the chances they have of engaging in contact, or limiting the actual number of contacts that they have over the course of a game. Safer techniques in football. This is something that is being developed. We'll get another example here. Previously, football tackling was taught to be like this: head down, hit with the crown of the helmet. That's how you tackle somebody. New developed called the heads up method has been being taught for several years now, where you keep your face up, you kind of move off to the side to avoid direct head contact. Again, as noted, it's not going to solve the problem, but it's certainly moving in the right direction. But most importantly, we need to disallow contact sports for children. Personally, I think before high school, there should be no contact sports allowed. A case could be made, and it was, by Dodd, Herbst, and Boudin in 2018, that even high school might be too early. They reported that in 2018 alone, 13 high school football players died directly as a result of injuries sustained during playing football contests. So, to conclude, CTE is a deadly disease. It is undeniably linked to playing football, and there are things that can be done to prevent it. If we know that we can stop a brain from looking like this, we really should be doing everything we can to make that happen. Thank you.